The Green Lantern Corps is filled with interesting and complex personalities. None more interesting and more complex than the controversial Guy Gardner, who will be played by Nathan Fillion in the upcoming Superman movie. Why is there sometimes a debate about Guy's allegiance to good or to evil? Why is he so controversial? Well, Guy's not only been a member of the Green Lantern Corps, but he has wielded a yellow Cordian ring, which feeds off the emotion of fear, and a Red Lantern Corps ring, which is powered by pure rage. Both the Sinestro Corps and the Red Lantern Corps represent imminent threats against the Green Lantern Corps, and it seems that Guy is comfortable with either side of that coin. Hot-headed, compulsive, tenacious, stubborn, these are but a few of the characteristics that define Guy Gardner as a man and as a wielder of light. Welcome back to the Comicverse, everyone, and today we'll look back at Guy Gardner's first appearance and eventual recruitment into the Green Lantern Corps. But first, we'd appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe button, comment, and share the video out. It really helps out the channel each and every week. Guy Gardner grew up in Baltimore, son to an abusive alcoholic father who gave all of his parental affection to Guy's older brother, Mace. Mace would grow up to be a police officer. Guy would turn to a life of petty crime. Mace would do all that he could to help Guy during these times, eventually getting him to straighten out, go to school, and get degrees in psychology and education. During that time, Guy's worldview was shattered when Mace was shot and crippled because it turns out Mace was a dirty cop and working the drug trade on the side. Mace, unable to live with himself, drowned himself in a river soon after. For a long time, Guy would carry that pain with him, even as he got his own life on track, becoming a gym teacher to special needs students. Now, most comic book readers know how Hal Jordan became the Green Lantern, inheriting a power ring from the dying Abin Sur. However, if it wasn't for a matter of pure circumstance, it would have been Guy Gardner who would have received the ring, not Hal Jordan, and be recruited by the Guardians of Oa to become a Green Lantern. It was merely a matter of distance that kept Guy from becoming the superpowered individual he is today. To witness and understand how Guy Gardner came to be in the DC Universe, we must start in March of 1968 in issue number 59 of Green Lantern Volume 2. And to understand just how he went from an ordinary man to an intergalactic keeper of the peace, our journey will take us all the way to October of 1986 and issue number 7 of Secret Origins Volume 2. We begin with the story titled Earth's Other Green Lantern. Hal Jordan is deep in space, learning about advanced technology from the Guardians of Oa, keepers of the green light of will. They explain that they have a machine that can record the memories of the dead and store them for later viewing. They tell Hal Jordan that they recorded the memories of Abin Sur, Hal's predecessor, before his entombment. They offer Hal a chance to view the recordings. Immediately, Hal sees the face and hears the voice of the being that chose him as a replacement in his dying moments. Abin Sur, realizing that his end is near, fulfills his duty and commands his lantern battery to find a worthy successor on Earth. From his ring, a powerful beam of energy crisscrosses the Earth in search of one without fear. Surprisingly, the ring is able to find 2 deserving individuals in mere seconds. One, an instructor in an eastern school of the United States, the other, a test pilot in nearby California, both identical in the prerequisites to be a member of the Corps. Abin Sur decides to select the nearest one, Hal Jordan, and commands the ring to retrieve Hal. Hal, busy testing new equipment, is suddenly engulfed with emerald light and transported to Abin Sur's location. Astonished at seeing an alien, Hal listens as Abin Sur shows Hal the lantern. Hal is told about the Green Lantern Corps' mission and how he has been selected to be a member, that he is honest and without fear and therefore worthy of this selection. Abin Sur tells Hal about how he crashed, engulfed by radiation and yellow light. Abin Sur explains that the battery has a yellow impurity and therefore it is powerless against anything yellow, but has dominion over everything else. He places his green ring on Hal's finger and warns him to charge it every 24 hours, and with that, Abin Sur expels his final breath. The recording ends there. Hal recalls putting on the uniform for the first time and using his ring to move a mountain with just pure willpower. But what now astonishes Hal is that there was another inhabitant of Earth that could have been chosen. He cannot help but wonder what would have happened if this school teacher, Guy Gardner, would have been chosen instead. The Guardian offers to show Hal Jordan exactly that. Using their advanced computers, they enter the hypothetical information and start from the moment when Abin Sur would have contacted Guy Gardner. We see Guy Gardner pulled from his post at school as a physical education instructor and brought to the dying Abin Sur. Guy goes through the same speech and test as Hal did in real life, accepting the ring, promising to do his best. Guy first tries to fly, but faltering, he realizes that he must feed his ring constantly with his own willpower, and then he understands how it all works. Keeping his identity secret and remaining on staff at the school, Guy's first case comes with a rash of sabotage. His ring detects a hidden radio transmitter in an old house. He crashes through the wall. The three men at the heart of the sabotage are startled. They pull weapons and fire, but Guy blocks them with a shield construct. He then charges forward, careful not to use his ring to permanently injure the men. It's no contest. Guy is in top physical condition, and the criminals are not. The fight ends quickly. After that, Guy took on a series of super criminals: Sonar, the Shark, Black Hand, Dr. Polaris, and even Sinestro, the renegade Green Lantern, beating them all. It was after his defeat of Sinestro that the Guardians summoned him to Oa to explain the power that he now wielded and the group he now belonged to. Afterward, Guy flew back home, streaking by an isolated planet where radiation bursts exploded all around him. He descends to investigate. He sees two armored antagonists with radiation weapons battling it out. The blast that almost hit Guy were just strays. The two metal figures turn their attention to Guy, label him an intruder, and start to fire. Guy hits them both with his power ring, which also tells him that these beings are autonomous robots, a mystery that Guy is determined to get to the bottom of. Why are they here? Who made them? And why are they fighting? Guy uses his ring to extract information from the robots' memory banks. He learns that the planet is named Gira, and the only inhabitants are children who never grow old. The robots explain that the adults were wiped out by a strange yellow plague. The children were spared, but their ability to grow was arrested. Hungry for recreation, the children started to play war games and divided into two camps. One side represented by orange, the other by blue. As a result, Gira is constantly at war. Guy Gardner leaves the robots, determined to find the children and end the war before it brings total destruction to all. And as Guy searches, a powerful thought wave tries to take control of his mind. He resists for a moment, but succumbs in the end, captured by the children as they telepathically land him in their camp. As Guy comes to, he's unable to move, and the children treat him like some sort of new toy robot. They read his mind and learn that he's called Green Lantern. They command Guy to defeat the Orange Army and capture all of their members, taking them prisoner. And Guy has no choice but to obey. And as he flies off, an orange bird craft attacks the blue camp. The children order Guy to destroy it, which he does, finding relief in the fact that there were no living beings on board. This new battle takes Guy all over the planet, including underwater where he battles a giant orange mechanical fish that expels lightning. Guy is able to defeat the submarine, and with his ring creates a giant hand and arm that grabs it and places it on top of a pile of rocks, effectively eliminating it from action. After this, the children of the blue camp urge him on, and Guy is still unable to shake off their dominion over his will. He next has to battle orange tanks with serpent heads expelling fire. He easily turns their own attacks against them. However, Guy is now flown too close to the orange camp, and those children attempt to wrest control of his mind from the blue camp. The mental tug of war threatens to rip Guy's mind apart, but using the last of his own willpower, he forces the thought rays of the orange and blue camps to collide with each other, freeing him temporarily. He then uses his power ring to shield himself with green armor, preventing further attacks. Using his experience as a schoolteacher, he ends the conflict between the children and encourages them to enjoy sports and exercise. The kids easily agree and see Guy for the wise human that he is, much like a father. Guy also used his power beam to remove the negative effects of the yellow plague. The children will now grow normally, to one day have children of their own. Then Guy Gardner bids them farewell, now in a hurry to get home and charge his ring. It's almost been 24 hours. Guy makes it home with little time to spare. He charges his ring, but then a terrible change comes over him. He begins to shake, to sweat, and to turn yellow. He immediately knows what's happening. While on Gira, he contracted the yellow plague. Not even his lantern can help him now. There was only one thing left to do. He had to find his replacement. As did Abin Sur before him, Guy sends out a powerful green energy beam to search for his successor. Hal Jordan is selected and then transported to Guy's apartment. Guy explains to Hal what is happening, how he will become Earth's new Green Lantern. And in his dying moments, Guy passes the ring to Hal. And with that, a new Green Lantern is born. Back on Oa, Hal Jordan is amazed by what the Guardians have shown him. Hal now believes he was fated to become a Green Lantern and asks permission to contact Guy Gardner. Permission which is granted by the Guardians. It was not hard to get to know Guy Gardner. Hal simply joined the same athletic club and the two became fast friends. Soon after, Hal had to leave for travel. Guy believes the two know each other from somewhere else, but just cannot quite place it. And in our final panel, Hal thinks to himself that the two of them will cross paths, and he will make sure of that. January of 1972 would bring us to another moment of pause in Guy Gardner's life. At this time, he is, for all intents and purposes, the backup to Hal Jordan and the next logical member to recruit for the Green Lantern Corps. However, issue number 87 of Green Lantern Green Arrow Volume 2 featured an unfamiliar face in a Green Lantern suit, wielding a power ring while holding the limp body of Hal Jordan. The story titled Beware My Power begins with Hal Jordan charging his ring while an earthquake rocks the California coastline. While Hal surveys the damage, a busload of children are caught on a collapsed bridge. A young girl, Susie, is perched on the edge of that bridge, too afraid to move as her teacher and chaperone, Guy Gardner, tries to coax her to safety. Just then, Hal Jordan lands next to the kids as they point him in the direction of the troubled student and teacher. But before the students can finish their story, the weight of the bus causes the bridge to further collapse, sending the bus directly into Guy Gardner and sending Susie into the abyss below. Hal is able to catch Susie, and then he's able to save the teacher, just then realizing that this is his old friend, Guy Gardner. He talks to Guy as Guy explains that he feels like a balloon with a lot of busted light bulbs rattling around inside. Later, at the hospital, the doctors explain that Guy will be confined to a bed for at least 6 months. For Hal, this means his successor, if anything were to happen to him, is not available anymore. Even if Hal wanted to take a break from being the Green Lantern to get his personal life straightened out, or if he just began to burn out on the whole superhero gig, this would no longer be possible. Just then, a Guardian of Oa communes with Hal. They have witnessed Guy Gardner's accident and wish to name another successor in his stead, but Hal wonders who that could be. Hal and the Guardian transport themselves to a nearby urban ghetto. The police are harassing a couple of men playing dominoes on a sidewalk. They are forcing them to leave, but another voice intervenes. He challenges the police, unafraid of their potential abuse, even challenging their manhood to actually go through with using their nightsticks. Hal cannot believe that this is the man the Guardians want to entrust the power ring with, but the Guardian explains that this man meets all of the qualifications. Besides, they are not interested in his petty bigotries. But Hal tells him that this is not what he meant. It was just that the man has an obvious chip on his shoulder, which could mean trouble. But Hal abides by the wishes of the Guardians and goes to meet this man. And sitting in a candy store, Hal explains to this man all about joining the Green Lantern Corps. For the man, an out-of-work architect, any job is welcome. He then introduces himself as John Stewart and tells Hal that being a superhero might be a fun gig, but maybe Hal should call him Black Lantern. Hal then proceeds to demonstrate how the lantern and ring work in tandem, and the rules to recharging the ring every 24 hours. Hal recites the oath, which John finds corny, except the part about beware my power. He likes that part. Hal then gives John his uniform, and the two practice flight for the next few hours. Turns out, John Stewart is a natural flyer, so it would be a while before Guy Gardner gets his chance to do the same. And this is where we leave 1972, and we move to October 1986, and issue number 7 of Secret Origins. By this time, Guy Gardner has become a Green Lantern, and had become a foe of the Green Lanterns. Some would say he is now just a man driven by ego and anger, a man just on the edge of madness. Years before the world-changing event Crisis on Infinite Earths, Guy Gardner was just a gym teacher in Baltimore. He had the courage to cross the picket lines and teach the kids, make them the priority. That night, Abin Sur would crash to Earth, and we already know that Hal Jordan was closer. Guy was put on the Green Lantern Corps bench. When that happened, Guy, 3,000 miles away, felt a chill, like someone walked over his grave. He was not interested in superheroes at the time, like the Green Lantern. Guy seemed angry, alone. He focused on the kids, getting them healthy. He lost his longtime girlfriend over an argument about symbolism in 2001: A Space Odyssey. He got so drunk at the beach, he was thrown in the water to sober him up. Then one day, he met a visitor to the athletic club, Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan and Guy Gardner bonded over games of handball. But Guy was never able to shake the feeling that he'd met Hal before, and Hal always kept the knowledge of what the Guardians once showed him on their computer screens secret. How Guy could have been the Green Lantern instead of him. And as Hal says his goodbye, there is a touch of resentment in Guy's thoughts. Hal was out of his league for a friend. Hal had too much freedom. Hal would never understand a 9-to-5er like Guy. But for Guy, it sure would be nice to travel, maybe one day even to fly. 2 years later, Guy's dreams of traveling, flying off to see California, would become a reality. And then, a nightmare, an earthquake, a valiant effort to save a student, and a runaway bus. 3 days later, Guy found the strength to sit up and read the newspaper. Articles about the Green Lantern interested him because he had the strangest feeling that he knew this person. And after a 7-month hospital stay, Guy was walking again with the assistance of a cane. Back in Baltimore, he came across a circus and a fortune teller. He entered her tent and she says to Guy, "Yes, you are living a most unusual life. There are many secrets surrounding you. Enter, sir. I am Carrie Limbo." Guy is skeptical of Carrie at first until she guesses his initials and tells Guy that she is no fraud. She's the real thing. Guy then admits to her that he's had a few psychic twinges lately, to which Carrie responds, "I know." Carrie reads Guy's palm and tells him that he will be the heir of grandeur, involving the color green. Guy wonders if that means money, but Carrie explains that one very fateful day, a day of prime importance to you and the world, he will be the last of a great tradition. And even though Guy cannot believe her, he is smitten and asks her for a date. Love finally comes to Guy Gardner. He would drive to meet her wherever she was after the carnival left, and in the winters to St. Louis where she owned a shop. Then, one day, in St. Louis, Hal Jordan arrived to talk to Guy. Hal needed to go to Oa to repair his ring, but he's not sure he'll make it back alive. Guy is confused about what this has to do with him. Hal explains everything to Guy in that moment, letting him know that he is the first backup, even removing his mask and revealing his identity. He tells Guy that the Lantern Battery is with Oliver Queen in Star City, but Guy knows him better as the Green Arrow. And then Hal gives Guy his very own power ring, and for the first time, Guy Gardner transforms into Green Lantern. The following morning in Star City, Oliver Queen goes to wake up Hal, forgetting that he's gone to Oa. When he enters Hal's room, he sees the lantern projecting an image of Hal Jordan, shattering into pieces and then vanishing. Before Oliver has time to contemplate this, Guy Gardner appears and explains everything to Oliver. Soon the old and new heroes would see action. However, their adversary, a mysterious floating eye, would not be defeated that day. But for Guy Gardner, he's never felt more satisfaction in his life. Starting that day, Guy Gardner was the Green Lantern, and Hal Jordan was gone. But his tenure as a member of the Corps would not be smooth. One day, Hal's lantern battery exploded in Guy's face. Everyone believed he was dead from the blast. Hal Jordan, back in uniform at this point, went to Kari to explain Guy's death, and the two of them formed a bond, and soon were engaged. On the day of their wedding, Hal found out that Guy was actually alive. The blast that supposedly killed him actually sent Guy Gardner into the Phantom Zone, where he was kidnapped by Sinestro. Hal Jordan was able to rescue Guy Gardner, but Guy was left in a comatose and vegetative state for several years after. Guy Gardner would wake up during the crisis on Infinite Earths. He would battle Hal Jordan, who he blamed for his problems, almost destroy the universe by accidentally empowering the Anti-Monitor, and he would become one of the galaxy's most divisive figures, bouncing from the role of hero to villain to anti-hero over and over. He would wield many different powers, many different looks, even recently faking his own death. He has been the subject of many alterations throughout DC Comics' history of reboots, retcons, and reimaginings. Still, one thing always remained. If a cosmic, reality-threatening situation called for an extreme solution, Guy Gardner was typically at the center of it, one way or the other. Which begs the question, what kind of role will he play as he comes face to face with the Man of Steel in the upcoming relaunch of Superman? I can't wait to find out. And there you have it, the first appearance in comic book storyline of who Guy Gardner is and how he became a Green Lantern. A story that took 30 years to tell. I hope you enjoyed this look back at a slice of Green Lantern lore. Join us next time when we take a look back at Grant Morrison's 2008 epic event, Final Crisis, and look at how that storyline changed the DC comic narrative for years to come. However, if you need more comic book fun right away, just click on the thumbnails at the end of this video for our Welcome to the Comicverse playlist. As always, I thank you for watching. Remember, I'm still your reluctant gringo from somewhere south of the border. Salud and a huevo.